إيمان وايلة أكسيدنت اتنرابا ناشا ليطي متبال سلطة شكلي. اتلا نسيانة بدانا كيسس ات injury law و بيالباية قريمخ. إن آتن ينكل باتت بيتا خزموخن يطاني اتلوخن بوقارة مخبرون المنيان التلفون 8 أربع شوا وشو 8 تري وشو 5 خا إشتا يعني توكن بيت injuryrights.com. شمي إلى توني كالاغراكس كي يمزمن لشان خلية ديما.
Welcome to Assyrian National Council of Illinois. Where we provide home care services for the elderly 60 years and older. For over 20 years, ANCI has worked closely with the state of Illinois to strengthen and expand our home care program. We currently service the Chicagoland area, including Cook, Kane, and DuPage counties. If you are interested in finding out more about our home care services, please visit us at our Chicago or Streamwood office.
First of all, massive thank you to AANF, Assyrian American National Federation, for putting together a convention. Today, this is the 90th year. It's a big celebration. The organization has a ton of history. Without them, none of us would be here, right? I know we have a lot of Assyrian organizations that do excellent work. Obviously, we partner with those as much as we can. And the goal is to, as much as we can, work with each other. And I think this is a big, I'd say, kind of turning point for Assyrians. First generation Assyrians finally getting here and being able to congregate like this, and hopefully push us forward with what we intend to do as nationalists. So we'll get started. I'm very close with both of these guys. I love them both very much, and they help drive me in what I do every day. I've had the pleasure of training with both of them. I didn't get to roll with Osher because I'd torn my ACL at the time, but I've trained at his gym. Recently, I went and trained with Beniel, and it was good. I've trained before, but the level is insane. I think normal people don't often know. They'll watch, fighters on television. They're kind of like, oh, maybe I could do, these things, and you have no idea. It's like another world. It's an art. So, just at the highest level. So, just a few things on these guys' backgrounds. Beniel has an amazing fighting record. He fights in the UFC. He's recently coming off an 8-fight win streak. Some difficulties, but he always bounces back, and we're looking forward to him crushing it. Wins over Tony Ferguson, Close, among others. I mean, you guys, the fight fans, I'm sure you've seen Joe Rogan screaming at some of his knockouts when he knocked people out. So just amazing work. For Ashut here, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He also has the Academy of Jiu-Jitsu. Oh, and also I'll mention Benny has his own gym as well, King's Academy, Anaheim. That's where we trained. So for Osh, he's won multiple international Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitions. In 2018, the San Diego International BJJ, absolute vice champion in the black belt division. 2018 San Diego International Open again. IBJJF Jiu-Jitsu champion in the black belt division, and accolades go on. He recently competed as well and won. So These guys have a ton of accolades. They've done very well. But the goal for today is we want to kind of get to know them a little bit better. So it's going to be an open interview kind of format. I'm going to talk to them and they're going to answer back, and you guys can even go back and forth as well. So your guys' story is kind of interesting. How did you guys first meet? Because I know you guys, I think, had like been roommates and were both training at the same time and figuring out what you want to do way back. So let me get started with that.
Shalom aleichem. Is this thing on? I can't tell.
Hello,
if it's on.
testing.
Here,
Shalom aleichem.
Yeah, yours is on.
here, grab this, Benny.
Take that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you sure? Hello? Hello? Oh, okay. My bad. Shalom aleichem. Avitun basim ke danochun mutotun atitun lacha. Like you said, we'll speak English just for the sake of everybody. My accent's not the greatest. Anyways, I met Asher. I want to say, was it 6 years ago or 7 years ago? It was actually at a event for athletes in Chicago, and went there. I didn't know who he was, and they were basically honoring the athletes we had there. He was one of the athletes. It was Random Marcos. He was there. We had some boxers. It was really cool. We meet, but his initial impressions of me, I guess he had talked to somebody else before, and he said, "Oh man, this guy's really hard to get a hold of. He doesn't really talk, and he's difficult." So Asher comes up and he's kind of like standoffish with me, and that's our initial meeting. And
I don't remember this.
Anyways, the best way to be friends for athletes is grappling. So we had a couple of grappling sessions. We trained together, and immediately we hit it off. And then a couple of years later, he came and stayed with me to get ready for a bunch of competitions in California and other places.
Yeah. I mean, I forgot about the Fighters Night, but that was a really cool event. I remember it was a convention actually in Chicago that you came to, and I was still a purple belt, and we started training that weekend, and it was pretty cool that we got to, we meet again at a convention. So it's really nice to see all you guys here. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to come here. But yeah, I got my black belt in 2017, and then Benny was nice enough to let me stay with him during 2018. I trained with his coach, Homulo Bahal, and we prepared for competitions, and we just beat each other up. It's pretty fun. So
Yeah.
it's
By the way, as far as convention locations go, this is my favorite. It's 10 minutes from my home, so this is absolutely amazing.
Okay, perfect. So next question is, how long have each of you trained martial arts? When did you get started? I know Benny and I have talked about this. Osh, we've talked a little bit, but when did you guys get started, and what kind of sparked that interest?
I'll go first, I guess. For me, it was 2007. So if I want to do math, I want to say 16 years. So if my math is off, I'm sure someone will let me know later. But I started training in 2007 because I had just finished basically high school. I was about to go into college, and everybody told me when you go to college, you study a lot and you gain a lot of weight and you get fat. So make sure you make sure you go and work out and go to a gym or something. And to be honest with you guys, exercising for the sake of exercise is something I absolutely hate. I don't enjoy working out. I don't enjoy running. Like, I don't get a runner's high like people say, "Oh, I get a runner's high." Unfortunately, I don't have that blessing. So I decided to try jiu-jitsu and fell in love with it, and that just slowly turned into training once a day for recreation, to training 2 times a day, and then all of a sudden my coaches are asking me to compete, and as soon as I started competing, things were going well, so they kept asking me to compete, and in about 2 years I had my first professional MMA fight. And the reason why is because there's no amateurs at that time. So they're like, "Here, just jump in," kind of deal. It was probably not the best to start so early, but here we are.
I started in 2010, so I was 15 years old, and I was actually just like watching the UFC prior to ever doing any sports. I was just like a computer nerd, like video games, and I was like, "Oh, this looks a lot of fun." So I looked up the nearest school, jiu-jitsu school near me, and I started training gi, no-gi, and Muay Thai, and I was like, oh, this is like it was so addicting. But when I first competed, like 3-4 months after that, I was like, I don't know, it just got a grip on me, and I just wanted more and more and more, and you know, now it's been 13 years I'm training, and it's you know, every day on the mat's a blessed day. So it's a happy day if you can train, and you know, it's taught me so much. I was in university when I was doing jiu-jitsu, and I always tell my students I learned so much more on the mats than I did in university, and the people you meet on the mats and the experiences, they just they mold you into a different person, you know. And it's you know, I look forward to training tomorrow, so you know, it's a lot of fun.
Thank you, guys. So next one is, I'm sure as competitive athletes, you have to have a particular diet. Maybe not all the time. You guys get to have some nice foods, but what do you guys like to eat? What do you guys eat before competitions? What do you eat after to celebrate? Is it Assyrian food? What's your favorite Assyrian food?
Everything.
If we're talking what I like to eat, it's mostly my mother's cooking. She does chipta really well. She does dolma, and not just like dolma torpe, it's dolma ranjid, chalame, chulle.
I can confirm.
Yeah,
Fire.
It's
Fire.
It's really good. She pretty much makes everything really well. She makes good lamb. That's what I like to eat. And then, as far as recommendations go around this area, there's a place called Joe's Italian Ice. I recommend everybody try that place. It's really good. But as far as what I eat on a regular basis, my wife actually will cook for me, and it's chicken, vegetables, potatoes, meat, vegetable, potatoes. Sometimes I get rice. As far as my eating habits, the older I get, the more strict I have to be, because you gain a little bit of weight as you get older.
I'd say my favorite foods are steaks. You know, I like steaks and potatoes. It's Assyrian food also. You know, one thing your mom does really well that my family doesn't do is that burned rice.
Oh, tadik.
That's fun.
Tadik.
That's something when I was there, I was like, this is different, and I loved it. So, but you know, I love all the Assyrian food. My grandma cooks, so it's I'll pretty much eat anything.
It's not burnt, by the way. It's fried.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And there's like those berries they put,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
Yeah.
Fire,
Zerish.
fire. Love it. So yeah, but on a day to day, I try. You know, I don't eat super healthy. I'm a lot bigger than Benny, obviously. You know, but I have a lot of sandwiches, rice, and meat. And if I can choose my meal, though, it's a piece of red meat and some carb, some vegetable. That's like my favorite. You know, so.
Okay, so next question is, Asher, I know you coach Assyrian kids in Chicago, and I think one of your students is here.
I got two here. So
Oh,
O'Neill and Johnny, you can raise your hand. You know, they've been training with me, so yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. Seeing the next generations, you know, picking up, you know, where I kind of see where I started. So it's really nice, you know.
Awesome. And hopefully some of those Assyrians from LA here, you'll visit Benny's gym in Anaheim soon as well. It was great. We trained there. So what thoughts or feelings kind of cross your mind when you're entering the octagon or entering the mats? What are you feeling? What are you thinking about? Is there something you go to be able to push yourself? And I think that's a useful thought for all of us, because we all deal with difficulties day to day. And these guys, obviously, it's very scary. Someone's trying to hurt you very badly.
You want me to go first? Yeah, you can go first.
Okay. So obviously, you know, when entering competitions, it's nerve-wracking, but I've had competitions where I wasn't nervous and I did not perform well. And I noticed that being nervous was a power, a superpower, and being able to control that and deal with it was something that took a while to master. But I feel like once you got comfortable there, it gives you a sense of strength, because your opponent's going through the same thing. They're feeling the same way, and it's when I show up on game day, on tournament day, it's my mindset is that they have the gold medal there waiting for me, and I'm going to pick it up. And I just have to prove to everybody that something I already know within myself, that I have to defeat my opponents. And it's not only about believing it within, but it's now proving it to the world. So I have to have a lot of confidence, but I also have to respect my opponents and know where they're strong. But I have to, I say respect before and after the match. During the match, it's a scrap, and I have to give it my all. So I just do my best, and I try not to think about it too much because I did all my training, I did all my preparation. So like the result and the outcome is gonna be what it is. So I just do my best, and most important, I try to remember how blessed I am to be able to do it and to have fun, because there's times where I was hurt and I was not able to train and I'm not able to compete, and it's a gift to be able to do those things. So I try to exercise that to the best of my ability and make the best out of it. And of course, I hate losing and everybody loves winning, but it's more than the competition. It's about the grind. It's about the camp. It's about training every day. It's about showing up and putting that work in. And that's what makes the victory so sweet. It's just something like, again, you proving something you already believe within yourself just to the world. And you on the day you get to display that,
That was a lot. Shoot.
You can walk us through your maybe first fight experience if you'd like.
For Osher or me?
No, for you.
Okay. First fight. So first fight, I got called by my coach for a MMA fight, and at that time, I thought he was talking about an amateur fight. Turns out, like I mentioned earlier, there's no such thing as amateur fights for MMA athletes at that time. This was 12, 13 years ago. So he calls me, tells me you want to fight, and I was actually really scared at the time, but I said yes. The whole experience of my first fight was actually terrifying. Every single bit of it was terrifying until I got inside that octagon. But then that part, for whatever reason, it just seems to be the freest 15 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever amount of time I spend in there. I can't explain it to you, but it feels very natural. Well, you wake up day to day, you do certain things, and some feel more natural and than others. Turns out, for me, fighting is the most natural thing. But I will say this: when getting to the octagon, getting to the fight, this is more difficult. The day of the fight, I'm very nervous. So I would agree with what Osher said, though. Nerves actually help us to perform better. They help you to stay sharp. They help you to stay focused. But ultimately, the way I deal with nerves is this. One, I'm only going to have these feelings a few times, and who knows how long I'm going to be fighting for, right? Instead of being so resentful towards them, appreciate what they are and just kind of embrace it. And then two, everything like that where it's overwhelming, I take from myself and I give it to the Lord. I pray. I spend a lot of time in prayer, and prayer really helps me to settle down. I meditate on God's word, and I'm prepared for war. It's really that simple.
Okay, so Assyrians are known for being like a warrior society from the beginning of time. We're these tough people. We conquered the Meso region, all this stuff. But now, for some reason, I know I've experienced it too, and probably these guys have. But for some reason, our parents really don't like it when we train in martial arts, especially our moms. I know there's some moms in the crowd. How did your guys' parents feel when you first started doing fighting?
You go ahead.
My mom still hates it.
Yeah.
Like, she still hates it. She's come to my first tournament, and that was it. She was like, I'm never coming to this again. So it's, like, they learn to deal with it, but even though they hate it, I feel like my mom, my grandma, like, these are people that also made me so tough, They really empower and tell you, if anytime, like, something's bothering, they're like, push Oriza, do ganu. I'm like, all right, like, it's not that bad. Don't complain. But they don't like it. But, every time you get hurt, they're like, they cuss out jiu-jitsu. But,
Yeah. My grandma used to tell me, Jervisit manshita. Like that was her favorite thing to say to me because I was always getting hurt. I was always getting beat up. She always said to me, "Jervis, it's okay." Anyways, grandma was much more supportive. She just, I don't know. My grandma was different. She was not. She was okay with it. Even if I would get in fights before martial arts, she was just like, "Yeah, it's okay. Boys fight," kind of deal. But my mom, on the other hand, she hated it. She still hates it. But I will say this: my mom loves the drama. It's weird because you would think there wouldn't be much drama in fighting because you fight and it's over, right? But there's actually a lot of drama in the whole the UFC, and my mom loves the drama. She'll be calling me every day and be like, "Did you see what this person's in?" I'm like, "No, mom. I actually try to stay away from that." So I'm very different in terms of my demeanor and personality than my mom. She enjoys certain things that I don't, and then so, but at least we have something to talk about because typically she just hates MMA. She hates the fighting part.
Perfect. So, what are some? So first of all, I'll say this: Assyrians have went through a lot of adversity, right? Genocides, Semele, 1915, and so on and so forth. We're finally here. A lot of us have gone to the West, and we're doing well. Look at this crowd. I mean, and these guys. We've done very well, and we've got a lot to do still, but we've been able to push through a lot of adversity. So I'm incredibly proud of our people. That's what makes me proud. What adversities have you guys gone through in your guys' lives? Maybe a specific moment where you were forced to kind of, as a young man, grow up suddenly. And what did you guys have to do to get through that period?
For me personally, the moment that truly helped me to grow up was when I had to become responsible for my house. I think the current culture has this big emphasis on, oh, go to school, get your degree, slowly get more experience, and then eventually, and I'm not saying don't go to school. Go to school, that's fine. But men require, if you want men to become men, they need responsibility. So one of the things that happened to me was just a lot of responsibilities came on my shoulders when I was 22. And at 22, I have to be honest with you guys, I was a great competitor in jiu-jitsu, and I was doing a little bit of MMA, but I was not a man. I was great at competing, okay, but I was not a man. I never paid bills. I never did anything. And then at the age of 22, all that changed. So I think this is something that's really important for culture, not just Assyrians, but in general. Men need responsibilities. Men need to step forward. It's always men who should lead. So,
I agree. For me, I grew up without my dad, so right off the bat, we grew up. My mom was 18 when she had me, and then 20, 21 when she had my sister. So my grandma raised me, and my mom was always working. My mom does hair, so growing up in Chicago as immigrants was it was just tough from the beginning, and I didn't know. My mom and my grandma did a really good job because I didn't really notice anything until I got to kindergarten, and then kids would ask "Oh, what's your mom do? What's your dad do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know," but I really took that. I feel like that was a blessing from God because the discipline a father gives was not there, but when God put jiu-jitsu in my life and the people in jiu-jitsu, they disciplined me, I feel like, much more than I see people with fathers. So I'm grateful for everything, but that I would say that was something that was maybe traumatic that used into become stronger. So something like that. Yeah.
Great, thank you guys. So next one is Assyrians were a secular group during ancient times, and we were some of the first to embrace Christianity. Some of us, and we have many churches and so on and so forth, and there has been some divisiveness, but ultimately we are Christians. What role has your faith played in having you compete at such a high level and do so well and push you through those adversities that you faced before?
for me personally, if it wasn't for the Lord, I don't think I would be doing MMA because at 22, I was a great competitor in jiu-jitsu and I was very secular at that time, and I kind of did as I pleased. It wasn't until the age of 22 I really had um, what do they call it? Come to Jesus moment, right? I really got to know, yeah, I got to meet him and I recognized who he was and gave my life to him. So that was really the moment that changed me. So it's to say like the reason why I'm sitting here is because of the Lord. It's not because I did anything special. Because I'd be in jiu-jitsu, I wouldn't be going to conventions. I'll be honest with you. I'd be doing worldly things. I probably wouldn't have a family. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have kids. So I would say, yeah, my kids, my ability to fight MMA and just be here, it's all from the Lord.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Same here. I'm nobody, so thank God for everything. And I just, my mom always would tell me, like, don't worry about like itlu aknan or itlu babi alaha. So babi kushmaya itli. So that was for me. That's all I had. So that's and I'm grateful for every moment. So thank God. I would agree with that. Yeah, amen.
Okay, so I've got a couple more questions, and then we'll move to questions from you guys for these guys. So, we've talked about conquering adversity and the role of faith and these things, and what are some of the best moments you've experienced, and what crosses your mind during those moments? Let's say for Osh, you recently competed, you get the choke or you get the finish, and you feel like, okay, I got it, I won. Or Benny, you submit someone, or you knock somebody, you knock out close, and it's like, wow, this is done. What's the immediate feeling you get, and then what's the feeling you get after? Because you guys finish up, you go shower, and you go home to your families and stuff. How do you feel after that? In your best moments, what are the thoughts that cross your mind?
You want to go first?
Sure. For me, it's as soon as it's over, of course I'm happy if I'm victorious. I'm very happy, but it's the feeling I get is seeing what it took. The sacrifice that I had to put up to achieve what I achieved, and when it's over, the next thing I'm thinking about is, of course, it's such a high and it's so much fun, but I want to do it again. How can I get better? Like, when's the next one? Like, how, and then staying disciplined, because there's always going to be another tournament, another match, and just being prepared for the next one. But it's very addictive, so I would say,
For me, fighting is it's problem solving. That's the way I look at fighting. So I have an opponent. I look at him like a puzzle, and I try to solve that puzzle. And if I've done a good job preparing for this opponent, I'll be able to solve that puzzle. And then afterwards, I don't know. I wouldn't say I have like such a high or anything like that, but it's kind of whatever, to be honest with you. Because to me, the victory is great. I love solving the problem, but then the problem with the way I'm built, I'm designed is okay, what's the next problem and how do I solve the next one? So I actually have to take a moment and find ways to take a break, enjoy the time that I have, whether it's a victory or a loss. Like, how am I going to spend time with my family? How am I going to get away from problem solving and go into kind of a rest mode? It's weird to say, because I know everybody's like, oh, it must feel like it's got to be the greatest feeling ever, and it's like, it's good. I'll be honest with you. I have way better feelings just spending time, like when I had my kids. That's the best thing I can think of. Like when I first held my kids, first held my nieces. I remember just crying when I held my nieces. It was so weird. Anyways, yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't really do much for me, but at the same time, I got to solve another problem. So it's more of a, you could call it a characteristic flaw, but it's just that's my design. I don't. I appreciate the victory, but then there's another problem to solve, and so I'm back in the gym, and it's really what allows me to get to where I am.
Awesome, guys. So the next thing is we have a lot of. I mean, they're not really in here because they're doing an NEC meeting. The folks from ANF, but these people work extremely hard to run this stuff and put this together and bring us all together. And I'm incredibly thankful to work with them. And I know that in here we have, I can't name all the organizations. There's a lot, and there's a lot of people who wear hats in different orgs, but a lot of other great organizations as well who work very hard for our nation. You guys are here. Obviously, I've trained with both you guys. I love both of you guys, and I'd like for you guys to kind of tell these people like what is the importance? Why is it important to give back to Assyrians, and what drives you to come here? Obviously, like you guys have come to stuff before and hung out, and you know, you Benny, you were the man of the year a few years back. Also, you've been at Assyrian conventions before, and people know you. You're well known throughout the community. You come out with the Assyrian flag, Benny, you as well. Why is it important to give back to Assyrians? And I'm sure many of you will accomplish a lot of things here. Why is it important to give back once you've accomplished, and that sense of community as well?
Well, I grew up in Urmi, in a small village, and Fridays we would go to Mot Mariam, and then, Mar Serges, and then Sundays would be Mot Mariam, and we grew up very close. We had mutve, we had like all these things for us to get together. I spent a lot of time with Assyrians, and so who I am, the good parts, the bad parts, whatever. It's really I've been brought up in my own culture, so. For me to get to this point and then be like, okay, I'm gonna abandon what made me who I am, it would be weird. It would ungrateful, I guess, would be the word. But so I know where I come from. I know who are the people who made me who I am, and so it's not like one of those things where I have to do it. It's just one of those things I want to do it. I want to go to convention. I want to hang out with people who speak my language. Right now my mom's in Iran, so I barely get. The only person I speak Assyrian with is my daughter, and she's doing pretty good actually. So it's just nice to hang out with people that I grew up with. It's not really. I don't feel a responsibility. This is more just a pleasure for me.
I feel like for me. I couldn't be here without everything I have is, of course, from God, but also my community, and my community's helped me out so much. How could I not help the next people, the people that need help? If someone asks for help, you should help them. And I remember, for example, with just me and Benny, when I was a purple belt, I think I started seeing Benny competing. So I think this guy's Assyrian. This is before I met you, and
Jiu-jitsu or MMA?
Jiu-jitsu.
Oh.
Before I met you, I remember we tweeted at each other a couple times early.
Tweeted?
Yeah, tweeted.
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, we did. And then I actually saw Benny at a tournament once when I was competing in California, but we didn't know each other. I just saw him, he saw me, and we kind of just walked past.
Bro, I think you got catfished.
No, bro.
I didn't have a Twitter until I was in the UFC. The UFC made me get one.
I'm telling you, bro, because I fought Gabriel. That was the purple belt year.
Bro,
I fought Gabriel.
I'm telling you, you got catfished.
You were on his team, bro. I remember. So anyways, but like fast forward, Benny comes to convention. The fighters, Assyrian Fighters Night. Like, I'm so grateful for everything this guy's done for me, and like he let me live with him when I came out to Los Angeles and California, and I got to train under his professor, who's arguably one of the best ever, and I wouldn't have ever had that opportunity if I wasn't Assyrian. If he was like he helped me out through that community, and I look forward to helping my students get the same skills that I got, especially, whether they're Syrian or not. But that was just because we were in that community. I couldn't have, like, it would be a stranger otherwise. I don't know. Like, I was blessed for that, and thank you.
Yeah, giving back just feels natural since we've always received from our community. For me, I mean, you could say maybe I feel responsible, but I really don't. Like, if a Syrian person reaches out to me, it's a pleasure to help them. It's a pleasure to be able to just speak the same language, and it's not something I get to do as often as I used to. So it's really nice. And then, bro, I'm telling you, you got catfish.
No, bro.
I didn't have a Twitter.
Look, bro.
I didn't have
You had
a
a
Twitter
Twitter.
until I was in the UFC.
You had a Twitter.
All right, whatever.
I think it's really cool to see our community grow also.
Yeah.
Like, why would we not want to have better everything, Better doctors, better lawyers, better martial artists, better people, better community. Like, why would we not want that, Like, we represent that. We're all ambassadors of that. So we should, hold our head up high and do our best to help one another. And, we're as strong as our weakest link. So we need to pick it up, right? Like, so we just, it's like you said, it's a pleasure. I love you all. I love my community. I love the fact that I'm a Syrian. It's a blessing,
Said.
Love you too, bro.
So next thing is final statements here from each of you guys, and then we'll move to a Q&A. I'm going to give the prompt, and I'd like each of you to come up here and give a quick message to the crowd, and then sit back and we'll field a few questions. So there's a lot of Assyrians here who I know who have started competing in martial arts. Some of your students here, Brunel, there's another guy. I know there's back here from my church community in Mariosip, Adrian Benjamin, he's a wrestler over here. So there's guys who are training a lot. And training is important and it's good, but I think that the Assyrian fighting spirit is something bigger, right? And we've mentioned that having gone through so much through genocides and things like that, and we've pushed forward. So, and it's also something that's touched me personally. Like I started martial arts because of you guys, and I started taking it seriously because of you guys, and I wanted to learn it. I wanted to be good at fighting. What do you guys recommend Assyrian youth to do to stay focused, to succeed, not only like in the fighting space, but in general in life? What do you recommend that the Assyrian youth do? And if you guys can come up and give a quick message, and then we'll move to questions.
All right. As far as the youth goes, you're not gonna like what I'm about to say, but it's really simple. Honor thy mother and father. Listen to your parents. Like your parents. Look at all the parents. They're like, yeah. I've made so many mistakes where I didn't need to make it. I remember, like, mostly in the village, especially because my grandma born in the village, lived in the village for God knows how long before we came to America. But she would tell me things and I wouldn't listen, and then things would go the wrong way. Same thing in America, but I wish I listened earlier. So that's what I would say to the youth. Honor thy mother and father because they've been through what you've been through. There is nothing new under the sun. Different generation, but the problems are the same. They know what they're talking about. They've experienced a lot, so they know a lot. That would be what I would have to say. And then as far as the final thing I want to say to you guys is, man, I thank God for you because listen to this. This is really important. I want to say it was like 2009, 2010. My mom found out I fight MMA. She found out about my fight, and I was the black sheep. I don't know how else to explain it. So imagine, because we have family that came here really early and they were young, and so they grew up and they were accountants. We got lawyers. We have just really smart people in my family, and then we have a generation that came after me. They're all like entrepreneurs, hardworking. And then imagine me right in the middle. My sister is a nurse, by the way, and then she got married. But imagine me like just doing jiu-jitsu and fighting sometimes. Imagine like every single family event I went to, and they're just like, so when are you gonna grow up, kind of deal, you know? Like I mean, and they were trying to help. They're not. It wasn't like they were being mean about it, but they're like, you know, when are you gonna take school seriously? When are you gonna get going? You got to grow up. It was hard to kind of refute them, right? Because they're right. So fast forward a little bit, I started fighting, and then, when I started fighting and doing well, if it wasn't for the support of the community, if it wasn't my mom getting like 100 calls and being like, "Oh, that's your son," like I don't think I would have ever changed from the black sheep to the to the golden boy that they call me now. But that's really it. It was because of the community and the way they looked at me that finally my family changed the way they looked at me. So I just want to say thank you to you guys. Appreciate you so much.
For the youth, I would say, of course, to piggyback off what Benny said about listening to your parents. Of course, that goes first. But I would also say, for me, it was training jiu-jitsu, and the benefits that jiu-jitsu gives you, and there's a lot of parallels. There's a lot of parallels that you'll get from on the mat to off the mat, and oftentimes it just highlights a lot of characteristics about ourselves that we didn't realize. Maybe pride or ego, these things get all highlighted when training jiu-jitsu. And in order to advance and get better, you have to address them and you have to face these problems. And I think that a big problem for the youth today is that there's like a lot of instant gratification and everybody wants everything right now. And when you dedicate yourself to something like martial arts, it really requires a lot of discipline, and you'll realize that it takes a while to see the fruits of your labor. So it's for me personally, God knows where I could have been if I never started training, because you guys can look up statistics on fatherless children. They're not good statistics, okay? And I think staying on the mat kept me busy. It kept me away from bad groups. It kept me focused on the next tournament. It kept me wanting to get stronger, wanting to get smarter. It kept me, while in high school and in college, what do they want to do? All the kids they want to party, they want to go out. Kids that are idle, they spend time with other kids that are idle. And what does it say in the Bible? It says something Benny would know better than I would. Idle hands is what? Work of the devil or something like that?
It's not biblical, but it's idle hands are the devil's workshop.
Okay,
It's accurate.
there you go. It's better to stay busy. I see, I teach a lot of kids now, and I see like where my school is in the North Shore, non-Assyrian kids, their kids are so busy. They're so involved in music, art, sports. So you want to change the youth. I think the youth has to stay busy, because when not busy, then they veer off. And that's what I would say. Stay disciplined, stay busy, and it's a lot of work. But I had friends. I lost friends in the Assyrian community due to drugs, and they got off the path, and they were a victim of the devil. So it's same age, but it happens. And it's just like the decisions you make, one decision can change your life by a lot. But I get so happy when I see kids staying disciplined and doing martial arts. And I have a lot of Assyrian kids at my academy, and I can't wait to see them as black belts. So it's going to be a super team, and I plan on us. Hopefully we'll do an open mat or something sometime here, and they can all train. But that's what I would say. I'm biased, of course, but I'm going to say train. But that's what helped me, and I think that it's a huge message. And people sometimes forget. They say, "Oh, this is kind of expensive. It's more expensive to bury someone." Just remember that, okay? So invest in yourself, invest in your kids, and that's my message.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, guys. So, real quick, we have the Assyrian Young Professionals panel coming up. I'm going to field a few questions. I'm going to bring the mics to the audience. So, I'll probably allot like 10 minutes or so to this. So, let's go ahead and get started here. First question.
Osh, killer beard. I don't know who does your fade, but great job. You look like an Assyrian statue. So, question. I got two questions. One for the both of you. What does it mean to you when you walk out with the Assyrian flag around your back? And then the second question for Benil. I know you don't like to call out people, but who in your ideal world would you like to fight next?
What does it feel like to walk out with a flag? You know, it feels natural because, you know, every fighter represents their country. I know we don't have a country, but that's why I feel more inclined to represent Assyrians in Jiu-Jitsu, because a lot of people in Jiu-Jitsu, they didn't know what Assyrians were. So when you walk out with that flag, you get conversations like, what is that? And like, who are you guys? And it's just, you know, like Chinese people speak Chinese, like freaking Mexican people speak Spanish, like Assyrians speak Assyrian, and you know, that's me, you know, that's who I am. So it's just I'm doing what I have to do.
Baydar Yakuyl. It's heavy. There's a heaviness to the flag because you're carrying the hopes of other people, and so I would say it's there's a heaviness to it. That's the best way I would describe it. By the way, flags are now completely banned. So if you ever wonder why there are no more flags in the UFC, I annoyed them so much till they completely banned all flags. Anyways, that's and then as far as who I would like to fight next, to be honest with you, in an ideal world, I should be fighting Dustin Poirier, but it's probably going to be the Armenian kid. I think I'm gonna end up with the Armenian kid Arman, which for me it's more preferable because I think he's a more difficult puzzle. I think Poirier has his thing, but he's a easier puzzle to solve. But Arman is more difficult, so I think that's gonna be the fight.
Testing. Hi. First off, thank you so much to the both of you for coming out and speaking to us today. So Benil, I saw a podcast of yours with Emmanuel where you spoke about how strong your relationship is with God, which I absolutely love. And today we live in, us young men and women, we live in a world where sin is everywhere and it's very easy to fall in the world's desires. So what advice do you have for us young men and women here today to kind of train our minds to only worry about pleasing God and not worry about pleasing the sinful society?
So the idea that sin's everywhere, that's been always. That is not a new thing. I understand with social media and you know just the internet. It's kind of it's more magnified, I guess, but that's not a new thing. What has changed societies, what has made men great men, you know, giants that we currently even today that we sit on their shoulders, is their relationship with God. Because their relationship with Jesus, you could see it in take for example the founders, whether their speeches, their letters, you could see the influence that Jesus had on them. So you look at the founders, you look at great historical men like Lincoln, you look at Frederick Douglass, you look at these historical figures, they all have something similar, is their relationship with Jesus. It just changed them. It made them into men who became giants in my eyes. So I think you want to be, you want to change society, you want to be a great man, humble yourself and just start talking with Jesus.
Was that for me too? That was just for Benny. Yeah, I thought the same thing when you said that's always been around. The struggles of, you know, the world's always been around. It's not going to go away, and we just have to strengthen ourselves. And you know, nobody's perfect. I'm a sinner, he's a sinner. We're all the same, and we just got to do our best to fight our daily battles, and hopefully we do a little bit better, today than we do yesterday, and then keep that up. It's just like starting any healthy habit, whether you start going to the gym or you start eating right. It's just staying disciplined to it, though, and it's difficult to do that, and we'll fall off, but just keep getting back up and do your best. You're never gonna be perfect. That's what Jesus is for. That's you look to him for the strength, and you, like I said, you try to do your best, and God willing, you strengthen yourself and you build strong habits, and you're going to be a better person for it. So, that's what I believe. But yeah, it's we're all going through it, brother. You and I, okay? We're same spot, same boat.
Shalom Aleichem. It's good to be here in the big Assyrian community and meet you both in person, Benil and Ashur. The question is, when your competition comes up and you know who your opponent are, do you go study them, find their weak point, their strategies and stuff, or you're confident enough just to go and fight and win?
I personally study a lot. I probably spend. I'll watch hours of tape on my opponent, and then I'll watch hours of tape on myself, and then I can make adjustments watching those tapes. So yeah, I definitely study a lot.
Yeah, I study too. You have to. I think that film study is so important because you get to not only see what habits your opponent makes, but what habits you make, and how to better yourselves for the next upcoming event. So it's very important to study the tape, and it's then also put into practice. If you do that consistently, you'll see a big growth in your training. So it's just like studying anything. You get better at it when you learn more. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, we got two more questions here.
The question is for both of you. I was boxing in college 4 years and high school 7 years. During all these 7 years, I never lost. The only thing I would say, besides the practice and training, when I go in the ring, I should say an Assyrian should not lose. That was the spirit that made me going. An Assyrian should never lose. So when you go in the fight, or any profession, with that spirit, you'll be successful. Thank you for your contributions as athletes. You're great.
Thank you. That's heavy. I will remember that, and I will put that on my shoulders as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, last question.
Hey guys, it's a question for both of you guys. Which moment in your guys' mixed martial arts careers has been the most satisfying?
So for me, I would say this is probably so random too. But my fight with Thiago Moises, it wasn't even an exciting fight. But I hadn't won a fight in 2 years. I was dealing with a lot of just a lot of stuff. I had a lot of injuries, and just I was on the verge of retiring. Winning that fight. I won that fight, and then it allowed me to go on the run that I've been on. So it doesn't seem like a big moment, but that moment for me was just God confirming that I'm supposed to be there and continuing to do what I'm supposed to do, which is fighting, and now we're here.
I've never fought mixed martial arts, but I'll answer that for jiu-jitsu. So I would say kind of like Benny, it's a moment that was not, I wouldn't say it's so big, but the first time I won an IBJJF, which if you don't know what that is, it's an International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation. The first time I won the IBJJF Chicago Open, I was 18 years old as a blue belt, and the first time I won was the most special to me because I remember when I first got my blue belt, my first 6 matches at blue belt, I lost. I was 0-6. So I know you said Assyrians never lose, but I lost 6 times. So, it was a tough time. Okay, and I was. Because I got my blue belt, I was like 16 or 17, so I was facing adults at 16, so they were all stronger than me and bigger than me, and I just wasn't very good. But each time I lost, I had a notebook. I would write down the time the match went, how I lost, what happened, and I would read it over and over. And then the second time I lost, it took a little longer. The third time I lost, it took a little longer. The fourth time I lost, it was points. The fifth time I lost, and it got slow and small progress. Very, very slow. And then I remember going to Ohio once for a local tournament, and I submitted everyone. I won my first gold medal. I was like, whoa. And then when the Chicago Open came, that's like the biggest tournament in the Midwest. I just had a different confidence, and when I won, I was just like, I thought I sucked at jiu-jitsu, so I was like, man, I should do something else. But it was so satisfying because of the sacrifice put to get there, and it kind of confirmed, like you said, like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do, and I love it. So that would probably be the most satisfying moment.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. First of all, I want to say thanks for coming out here. I know I love you guys, and I know many of us, all of us, love you. And thank you for being such excellent role models for us, and for me as well. I mean, I know when I go through a difficult time, I'll say, "What's Benny? What's Osh doing?" Right, and it pushes me forward. So I think we can all take that with us when we leave. And I also want to say we stand on the shoulders of giants, right? This year, in organizations that came before us, who set all of this up, who are able to bring these guys in. And the teams that make those happen, as well as like our team with the Assyrian advisors, some of the people who've worked like without sleep for days to make these things happen. So thank you to them. And, we can't wait to have you guys come in the future as well. And as they leave, feel free to interact. Benny's got merch. I know I'm going to wear some of his stuff, and we'll be auctioning off one of his UFC gloves signed that was actually used in his fight at the presidential dinner. So those bids, it'll be a silent auction, so you guys can bid on that. I personally want one. They're in a box, so even if they smell, you won't smell it, and it's authentic Assyrian smell. So thank you guys again, and let's get a round of applause for these guys.
إيمان وايلة أكسيدنت اتنرابة ناشة ليطي متبال سلطة شكلي اتلا نسيانة بدنا كيسس ات انجري لو و بيالباية قريمخ إن آتن ينكل بتت بيتا خزموخن يطانة اتلوخن بوقارة مخبرون المنيان التلفون 8 أربع شوا وچو 8 تري وچو 5 خا إشتا يعني توكن بيت injuryrights.com شمي إلى توني كالغراكس كي يمزمن لشان خلية يما.
Welcome to Assyrian National Council of Illinois. Where we provide home care services for the elderly 60 years and older. For over 20 years, ANCI has worked closely with the state of Illinois to strengthen and expand our home care program. We currently service the Chicagoland area, including Cook, Kane, and DuPage counties. you are interested in finding out more about our home care services, please visit us at our Chicago or Streamwood office.